Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's immigration chat. So, today I will be going over the types of abuse that count when it comes to VAWA. So, if you are interested in that topic, then stay tuned. Okay, I am Attorney Lilian Chukura from Lily Legal. We are an immigration law firm and we help our clients get status for themselves and for their family using the US immigration law system. Okay, so like I said, today we'll be talking about the different types of abuse that count when it comes to VAWA. I get this question a lot from people, and I know there's people out there that might not know the different types of abuse out there that can lead to them getting a green card through VAWA. So today I really want to basically go through and tell you what those are, give you the definitions and examples, right? It's one thing to get the definitions, but it's another thing to get examples. So I will go through, give you the definitions, give you the examples so that you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say, emotional abuse. You know what those examples are. Okay. So I want to welcome you once again. Hi, Bayan. Welcome. Thank you for watching. If you are just joining me, feel free to say hi in the comments. If you have questions about this or any other immigration topic, go ahead and say hi so that I can tell you, so that I can answer your questions. Okay, go ahead, put your questions in the comments. I'm here for you. I'm here to answer your questions. Okay. Um, so, if you would like to have some one on one time with me, if you have questions about this or anything else, you can book a time to talk to me over Zoom or in person by going to my website, lilylegal.com, or by calling my office at 508 443 1788. Okay, so like I said, I get this question all the time. People not understanding that there's different types of abuse and only thinking that physical abuse is the only type of abuse out there that can lead to getting a green card through VAWA. And I'm here today to tell you that that is not true. That is not the case. And I'm going to go over the different types of abuse, give you the definition, and give you examples. Okay. So I want to make sure that um, whatever you're going through, you know, you can basically try to put it into the different categories, and I am here to help you. Okay, so before we get into this, if you like this video, please go ahead and hit the like button. If you find this helpful, or if you know someone that can find this helpful, go ahead and share this video. And if you are watching in a place where you can subscribe, like my YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Okay, so let's get started. The first type of abuse is basically the one that everyone knows, and when I say everyone, I mean everyone knows this, is physical abuse, right? Everyone kind of generally know the definition of physical abuse, what it is, what it looks like. So let's go over the definitions. Just so you know, I'm getting these definitions from the National Network to End Domestic Violence. Okay. So, physical abuse is a powerful way that an abusive person gets and keeps their partner under control and instills an environment of constant fear. Okay. So, basically, the way that physical abuse presents itself is through physical harm. And these are hidden, punching, kicking, slapping, strangling, smothering, use or threat of use of weapons, right? Shoving someone, interrupting their sleep, throwing things at them, destroying their property, hurting them. Um, so these are all types of physical abuse. Um, I have a whole list. So I can go through more examples. For example, if there was harm, physical harm, the person prevents you from calling 911 or seeking medical attention. Um, makes you feel like what you're doing is illegal, drives with you while drunk, right? So they are the ones driving, they're drunk, you're telling them not to drive. They are putting you in physical harm by driving drunk. So that is also an example of physical abuse. Okay, sometimes we don't think about that, but that is all part of, goes under the umbrella of physical abuse. If someone abandons the family for days without money, transportation, food, that is also part of physical abuse. So I just want the goal for today, like I said earlier, is to not just tell you what the definitions are, but to give you examples, concrete examples that you can then look at, compare it to your what's going on in your life. Just know these are not the only examples, but I do want to give you as much examples as I can possibly give you in in a live format. But typically, if you feel that you may fit into any of these categories, you should be talking. Okay, we should be talking so that we can work through and figure out what is going on in your particular situation. Like I always say, when it comes to these types of cases, I typically refer my clients to a psychologist because I am not equipped to help you deal with some of these things. I may be able to identify some of it, but a professional will be able to identify all of it and give you the tools to then work through them. So it's one thing to identify them, but my goal with my clients is not just to identify what the abuse is, but to help you get to the next step. So get you a green card, yes, but also make sure that you are working through the trauma so that once you get your green card, once you get your life stabilized, you're able to move forward. So it's a holistic approach when it comes to this for me and my firm. Okay. So those are the examples of physical abuse. Now let's go on and go over sexual abuse. So some forms of sexual abuse is common in abusive relationship. The impact on the victim is commonly feelings of shame and humiliation. So this is where, for example, physically forcing your partner physically forcing you to have sex with them, making you feel fearful about saying no to sex, forcing you to have sex with other people, forcing you to participate in demeaning or degrading sexual acts, violence or name calling during sex, and denying contraception. So your partner refusing to basically either wear contraception or having you not um, have contraception. Okay. So those are some of the types of of sexual abuse that's out there. I'm going to get into more of those, but just know it is a vast array of examples. And again, these are only samplings. Okay, this is not an exhaustive list. If we were going to dig into every single example, we would be here forever. But I want to make sure that you have some idea of what fits into sexual abuse as we're talking about it. Okay. So, like I said, some things that fit under that as well is basically your partner um, saying that you owe them sex because they're the ones that are going to get you immigration status. So because they're going to be applying for you to get immigration status, you must have sex with them when they want, not if you want. Okay, so that's an example of that. Again, not forcing you to not use birth control or refusing to wear um, a condom. All of those things are part of sexual abuse. So your partner knowingly putting you at risk for an STD is also a form of sexual abuse. So it's really important. Again, these are very sensitive topics, right? It is very sensitive, and I know that, I understand that, and I treat it with the level of um, seriousness that it is. So when I'm talking about this, just know these are kind of the examples that I can say on here without really going into too much detail. Okay. I don't, I just want you to understand that as we're going through this. Okay. Hi, Tommy. Welcome. Um, if you're just joining, feel free to say hi in the comments. If you have questions about this or any other immigration thing, feel free to put it in the comments as well. And if you are watching this on the replay and you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. I do go back and respond to your questions. So feel free to do that. Put your questions in the comment, whether you're watching live or watching later. Okay, so we are now going to go into emotional abuse. Okay, so basically, it is a very effective tactic used by abusive partners to obtain power and control, and it can cause extreme damage to the victim's self esteem. Okay, so examples of this include constant put downs or criticism, name calling, making the person feel crazy, right? Like you, the person being abused, is the crazy one, right? The person acting superior to you, minimizing the abuse, or believing or blaming you for their behavior. So basically, the person abusing you and blaming you for the abuse, accusing you of having affairs, um, plays mind games with you, destroys your personal property, right? Um, destroys things that they know have sentimental value to you, um, shame you for your immigration status or heritage, right? Makes you feel like you could never find someone else and it's just them. And if you leave, you're going to be alone for the rest of your life, right? Controls what you wear, who you talk to, where you go. And then another example is the person cheating on you to prove that he doesn't, he or she doesn't need you and that they are better than you. Holds affection, right? Withholds affection as a way to punish you for whatever arguments or behavior that they don't like. They will withhold affection from you as a way to punish you. So these are all types of emotional abuse. And I go through this again. I know, disclaimer, these are only samplings, but there are different ways that this can present itself. And sometimes, and I just want to make this very, very clear, you don't have to only fit into one category. You don't have to only fit into one category. So there can be physical abuse as well as emotional abuse, as well as sexual abuse going on at the same time. Okay. So it's not, you have to fit into one box. So I've taught most of my clients would fit into all of these categories, right? There's some physical abuse, some sexual, some emotional. And we're going to get into the next ones, which are financial abuse, verbal abuse, and psychological abuse. Okay. So all of those things can exist in one situation. So it's really important that when you're thinking about this, you're not like, okay, Lily said that there's physical abuse, so I can only fit into this box, or emotional abuse, I can only fit into this box. No, what I'm saying is these are types of abuse, and you can fit into many of these categories or only just one category. Okay, you're not required to fit into every single category, and you don't have to fit into only one category. So that's, wanted to get that out there, because sometimes people do feel like they have to fit into only one category in order to be able to get status on the VAWA. So that is not the case at all. And we, you know, I'm going through this to make sure that you understand that and you see exactly um, what could, right? People learn by examples, and giving you these examples can trigger things in you to help you figure out if you are going through this. And again, if you are not sure if you fit into any of these categories, you should be talking to an immigration lawyer um, to see if you do. And if you do, then you can start going through the process of getting a green card through VAWA. Okay. So the next type of abuse that I want to cover is financial abuse. So this is where this is one of the least known types of abuse. People do not think about financial abuse. They don't even, some people have never heard of it, right? Don't know how it works or what it actually means, but it is very powerful. It is a way of basically controlling the person's moves, and it can be extremely abusive. So I always want to cover this because a lot of immigrants fit into this and they don't even know it. Okay. So, an example, so examples of financial abuse is your partner threatening to report you to the IRS because you don't have status and you may be working, right? They restrict you from going to any job training or going to school, forcing you to ask for money, giving you an allowance. Again, this is especially if you are working, right? You're making money, but your partner takes your paycheck and gives you an allowance instead of letting you have control over the money that you are actually making. Your partner does not give you access to the bank accounts, right? They control how much you're able to work. They do things to jeopardize your employment, like excessively calling your work, um, showing up at your work unannounced, those type of things that can jeopardize your ability to stay employed. If they are the ones giving you a right to work, refusing last minute to drive you to work, forcing you to be late, those are all ways that they can jeopardize your employment. Okay. They deny you access to the family income, harm your credit rating. So, for example, opening a credit card in your name and then refusing to pay, and you not knowing about it. Now you have bad credit, and it's due to them taking out the card and not you. Them refusing to work or contribute to the household. So basically, making you the person that has to work. And this is really, if they are able to work, physically able to work, and refusing to work because they said, you're the one that should be working, not me. Again, that's a form of financial abuse. If they are monitoring your spending, right? Where are you buying? How much are you spending? What type of things are you buying? You shouldn't be shopping at this particular store. I don't like you buying these types of things. Again, is there's a difference between um, someone saying, "Hey, I prefer you buying this brand of cereal because that's the brand I like," versus saying, you can never ever buy these types of things because I don't want it in my household. Even though you like it, because I don't like it, you can't buy it. Okay. So there's really a fine line in some of these things, but you want to make sure that um, you're not basically eliminating yourself from this. It is hard to look at your life and realize that you may be in an abusive relationship. But again, if you are in a situation where you could, um, where you do not have status in the US, these are things that can lead to you being able to get status. So I do want you to keep an open mind and be willing to do the work involved, as far as the emotional work involved, to um, basically figure out if you fit into any of these types of abuse. Okay, so the next type of abuse that I'm going to cover is verbal abuse. So again, if you um, if you are in any way familiar with types of abuse, verbal abuse is again another one that is not very popular as far as people's awareness of it, right? People seeing it as abuse. So, again, that's why I'm covering it today so that you know what it is, you know that it's out there, and you can recognize it by seeing it. Okay. So calling names, insults, continuously criticizing you, um, accusing you of cheating, making fun of your English, making fun of your accent. Um, um, so those are things that we might not internally see as um, abuse, but when it is constant, right? Constantly making fun of your English, um, humiliating you in public and in the home, um, humiliating you in front of your children, making fun of you for trying to talk about the abuse. So when you try to talk to them about maybe they shouldn't be physically, emotionally, sexually, financially abusing you, and you're trying to talk to them about that, and instead of actually having a conversation with you about ways to change, they start making fun of you for the abuse that they inflict on you. Okay, so that's another form of verbal abuse. Sending you negative, insulting, or threatening emails, text messages, or social media messages. All of those are forms of verbal abuse. So when I say verbal abuse, I do not mean just what they say out of their mouth. It can be written as well. So, because sometimes people get that confused. So it can be something they say with their mouth, or it could be something they text to you, email you, all of those things. So keep all of that in mind. If you are getting those types of messages, that can be used as evidence to show the abuse that you are suffering. So, again, I do want to put that in there, because I do know people tend to delete those types of messages. So if you are in that situation, just know that those messages, emails, social media messages, all of that can be used as evidence, for your VAWA case. So, for your information. So the next type of abuse is psychological abuse, right? And I'm going to go over these because they are long, and I do have quite a few examples, and I want you to kind of just take them in, okay? Intimidate you with looks, actions, gestures, or weapons. Smashes things when they are angry, uses your immigration status against you to gain power or control over you, hides your important documents. So, hiding your passport so that you cannot leave. Um, so, those are the type of things that we're talking about here. Lies and distorts the reality of life to family and friends. So, they are giving false information to your family and friends and making it seem like you are the crazy one, even though they are the ones abusing you in that relationship. They threaten to commit suicide if you leave, threatening to call the police and file false reports. These are ones that I do see, where they will file a report or get a restraining order as if they were the ones being abused, when truly they are the ones abusing you. Um, they deny or blame you for the abuse, threaten to report you to children and family services, Okay. The thing is, when you are an immigrant in the US, even if you do not have status, you still have a right to see your children, even if there is a divorce. So, your partner threatening to withhold your children from you, you do have the right to go to court. That's something to keep in mind. It is not automatic that because they are a citizen and you are not, that they get custody or they can deny you access to your children. That is not true. Family court does not care what your immigration status is when it comes to you being able to see your children. So keep that in mind. There are options out there when the threats are to take your children away from you. Um, they isolate you from family, friends, and those who speak your language. Okay. Keeping you isolated makes it easier for the abuse to continue because then there's no one for you to really lean on except for them. Okay. They control your environment, your involvement outside of the home. So you can't really go out, you can't join any groups. And basically you go to work if you work and have to come right home, because they are going to be controlling where you are at all times. They control who you speak to, how often you speak to them, um, and that goes to as well as your family, right? Which family members you're allowed to speak to, which family members you're not allowed to speak to. um, Forcing you to hand over your phone and passwords, and keeping tabs on your every move. Those are all examples of psychological abuse. And again, I am going through these stuff in detail because I want to make sure that not only do you know the phrase psychological abuse, but you also know the examples of it so that you can identify it when you see it in your life or in someone else's life, so that you can be more able to advocate for yourself and to help others in your community. So that's why I really wanted to go through this today. Again, I'm just going to go over the different types of abuse. Again, there's psychological abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse, verbal abuse, and psychological abuse. And remember, for VAWA, you do have to demonstrate that um, you have suffered extreme abuse in your relationship. Okay, so that can be physical abuse. Um, if you have suffered physical abuse in your relationship, um, you don't have to show the other types of abuse, but you can show the other types of abuse without having any physical abuse. So it's really important that you know that these things go hand in hand. It's not one or the other. It can be both, or it can just be one. So just know that when you're um, going through this, or when you're listening to this back to see if you fit into any of the categories that I'm talking about, that you know that you don't have to just fit into one. If you fit into more than one, that's fine. Um, you can still get status. Even if you fit into only one, you can still get status. So remember, VAWA was created for anyone. Okay, anyone that is in an abusive relationship with a US citizen or permanent resident. Okay, it doesn't matter your gender. Okay, it does not matter your gender, it does not matter your sexual orientation. Okay, you can be in the same sex relationship and still suffer abuse and still be able to apply for VAWA. So it's really important that we don't look at it as men, women. It's really just for anyone that is in a relationship, or was in a relationship, in a marriage. Let me clarify, in a marriage with a US citizen or permanent resident. And remember, if you've watched any of my VAWA videos, you should know that for you to apply for VAWA, you have to have lived with the person, been married to the person, and if you are divorced, that you are applying for VAWA within 2 years of the divorce. If it's been more than 2 years since your divorce, unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to apply for VAWA, but you might have other options available to you. Okay. You have to document that you live together, that you were in a real relationship. So, again, I get all the time people asking me, like, oh, can anyone just do this even if their marriage is not real, even if there wasn't any abuse? Well, I do. USCIS has safeguards in place for those things, right? You have to prove that your relationship was real, that you lived together, that you tried to build a life together. And you can show those things, again, by showing that you had a lease together, that you lived in the same house. So getting a letter from your landlord if you had roommates, getting that, showing basically joint assets, so bank account, tax returns, things like that, showing that you were building a life together is a great way for you to prove that your marriage was real. And then the abuse part of it can be your statements along with other people's statements. If you have gotten therapy, I always recommend to my clients to get an evaluation from a therapist about what they've been through, because the therapist will be able to walk them through the different types of abuse and really get details about what has gone on in their life. So all those things together will help to build your VAWA case. And USCIS actually does their research before they approve a VAWA case. So for those that are concerned about whether people are faking abuse, most, actually 100% of my clients that have come to me, I do vet my clients. We do get a psychological evaluation so that we have the best possible evidence of the abuse. And most people are not going to put themselves through this just to get a green card. Okay. So no one is going to put themselves through an abusive relationship just to get a green card. So for those that are concerned, just know there's safeguards in place. And for people that are going through this and are worried about what the impact of them applying for VAWA will have on the US citizen or permanent resident spouse, let me just get this out. If you're abusive US citizen or permanent resident spouse, they are not really going to be affected unless you go ahead and file a court a report with the police. Okay. So again, you are applying to USCIS to get status based on the abuse. You are not filing a police report. You are not filing, um, you're not filing a court case against them. This is you trying to get status so that you can basically get your freedom and be able to get away from your abuser. Okay. So again, it's not a police report. It is completely confidential. USCIS is legally not allowed to tell your abuser that you are applying for VAWA. Okay. USCIS is not allowed to tell your abuser that you are applying for VAWA. So, what I do with my clients to even further protect them, especially if they are still living with the abuser, is to change the address. Make sure that USCIS does not send any mail to your home address. Those are ways that you can protect yourself while you're applying for VAWA, to make sure that whatever we're doing is not going to lead to more abuse for you. So, making sure that every single letter that comes from USCIS that has to do with your VAWA case is not coming to you. Your partner will not be able to see them. They cannot call USCIS and get that information because it is confidential. They are not allowed to give that information out. Okay, so again, if you are worried about the impact on the US citizen of permanent resident, just know there is none, because you are not filing a police report. You are filing for a green card and for USCIS to give you status in the US. Okay, so again, if anyone has any questions about this or any other topic, please feel free to put your comments in the comments. And if you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and put your questions in the comments as well. Again, I wanted to go over this today because I do get this question a lot, and I want to make sure that you understand it, you are covered, and uh, you know what to you know what the types of abuse are, the examples, and you can try to see if you fit into any of them. And again, even if you do not think you fit into any of them, you should be talking to an immigration lawyer before you make that decision. Okay, as always, if you have any questions about this or anything else, you can schedule a time to talk to me over Zoom or in person by going to my website, lilylegal.com, and clicking on the schedule consultations, or by calling my office at 508-443-1788. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for your time. And remember, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you know someone who needs to hear this, okay, if you know someone who needs to hear this, please share this with them. And if you are listening in a place that you can subscribe, like my YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe so that you don't miss anything. And once again, I am Attorney Lilian Chukura. I am an immigration lawyer based in Worcester, Massachusetts. I am the owner of Lily Legal, and we here do immigration law. We help our clients get status for themselves and for their families. And I want to thank you so much again for joining me. And I will see you again next week with more immigration chat. Bye for now.